Through It All, written by KX. I never saw the moment it began to fail, because nothing failed in a way I could easily name. There was no cracked tile, no shattering crash, just a quiet continuation. The structure remained intact, the machines hummed on time, and the work got done with a smooth, steady hum. In the half-light of the office, computers clicked and the city lights outside blurred against the windows. Everything felt stable, dependable, and that, I would later realize, was exactly what made it so treacherous. Failure, when it arrives, usually does so loudly, a sudden quake that forces you to look. But this was different. It was silence disguised as motion, a gentle lull that kept me from asking any questions. At first, nothing about it seemed wrong. My choices appeared to matter. Every decision I made had results that lined up neatly behind it, and it gave me a quiet confidence. Not the triumphant kind, but the sort that feels earned, built on repetition rather than justification. I remember the feeling more than the details. The late-night walks home through empty streets, the click of my boots on pavement, as I believed I was moving forward, truly building something with purpose. There was no reason to doubt it. So I didn't. Things worked. And that was the secret trouble with things that work. They don't invite scrutiny. They only ask to be continued. Success became its own reason. As long as outcomes kept coming, I stopped wondering how or why. I just pressed on, layer upon layer, building systems to support my work, frameworks to manage complexity, plans to streamline effort. At first, each new system felt transparent. I could see how it was put together, what went in, what came out, and how it made the whole machine run smoother. That clarity felt permanent, like morning sunlight that would never fade. But systems don't stay still. They grow, absorbing every small decision, every hidden assumption. What began as a structure eventually became a world of its own, and worlds are hard to see from the inside. I remember the first faint sense that something had shifted, even though I couldn't articulate it then. There was no breakdown. In fact, everything ran smoother. Processes connected to other processes in ways I hadn't predicted. Efficiency climbed. And yet, the path between an action I took and a result I saw began to stretch and twist. What had once been direct became tangled in invisible knots. The processes started speaking to each other in whispers I couldn't follow. It didn't feel like I was losing my grip. It felt like I was gaining sophistication. And sophistication, when it unfurls slowly, wears a mask of progress. Around that time, people started looking at me differently, not just as one of them, but for answers. I could see it in their eyes, the urge to ask questions that I was supposed to have answers for. In meetings after midnight, with only the soft glow of the projector on my face, they waited for me to provide direction, and I adapted. I started speaking with more certainty than I felt. I learned to make decisions with finality. Even when the full picture was still out of view, doubt had become a kind of friction, slowing down the machine that everyone expected to run without hesitation. So I set doubt aside. I wore confidence as a garment, even if it was stitched together from guesses. I've looked into it. I told the team more than once, even if I hadn't yet reviewed every report. We'll move forward. I'd decide before I was entirely sure where it would lead us. And no one questioned it. Why would they? The machine kept humming. Results arrived on time. Goals were met. Nobody complained. There was nothing visibly broken to challenge the assured tone I brought into the room. Over time, that tone stopped being just a performance and became the truth I told myself. The line between what I actually knew and what I projected blurred, then vanished. I wasn't setting out to deceive anyone, but I stopped distinguishing between clarity and confidence. Either way, the system rewarded me for it. It worked. That's what sticks with me now. It worked long enough to cement every assumption I should have doubted. It worked long enough to make control feel real, not as an idea, but as something I was actually doing. I believed I was steering the ship, but I wasn't. I was going along with currents I didn't see, adapting to tides I had not plotted. My decisions still mattered, but they were not as free as I thought. They were shaped by limits I hadn't seen, nudged by invisible forces, held up by structures beyond my view. This understanding didn't arrive in a flash. It came in whispers, a choice that looked perfect on paper, but felt hollow in practice, a project that met objectives, but silently birthed new issues somewhere I hadn't noticed, an outcome that achieved the target, but only halfway, as if the ground underneath it had shifted. Each time, I shoved the warning aside. These were small blips, explainable by complexity. I could squeeze them into the story I already believed in, but they kept coming. They gathered like clouds on the horizon. Patterns began to form, not sharp and clear, but enough to unsettle me, enough to make me pause, just a heartbeat longer than usual, before every decision. That pause grew, stretching between thought and action, and with it came a question I couldn't outrun any longer. What if I'm not as in control as I think I am? The answer didn't come as a revelation. It came as erosion, a slow, steady giving away of certainty. I began to understand that what I called control was often just alignment, temporary and fragile. The system had been cooperating with me. It had allowed my decisions to look right within certain bounds. It had absorbed my blind spots, accommodated my compromises, and kept supplying results that buoyed my confidence, until it didn't. Not in a way that broke anything open, but in a way that made everything feel just slightly out of tune. Once I saw it, I could not unsee it. That is the burden of awareness. It doesn't offer clarity. It removes the illusion of it. What's left is something harder, a knowing that is incomplete but real. I kept going. What choice did I have? The system didn't pause for my revelation. Expectations didn't shrink, they grew. If anything, I was expected to double down on the appearance of control, even as the feeling of it slipped away from inside me. So I learned to live inside that split. Outwardly, I remained steady. Inside, I was quietly adjusting. Every choice felt heavier now, not because it was more important, but because I knew less than I once believed I did. Each action was taken with the knowledge of its limits, of all the unseen things that could tilt its meaning. The loneliness in that place is hard to describe. From the outside, everything looks the same. The machine runs, outcomes arrive, the structure stands firm. There's no visible reason for anyone to doubt a single thing. But inside, I know that the clarity I project is only partial. I know that the control I seem to have is bounded. I know that the system I'm moving through is wider, deeper, and more unpredictable than I ever allowed myself to see. That knowledge doesn't free me from responsibility. It deepens it, because I still have to act. I still have to choose. I still have to move forward inside a structure I'll never fully understand, fully aware that my understanding has shadows. There's no neat ending to this story. The system doesn't simplify to make sense of my realization. It doesn't open itself up and show me its heart. It just continues, indifferent to whether I understand it or not. And so do I, not with certainty, not with control as I once imagined it, but with my eyes open at last. Through it all, I go on, and then the room tilts. The noise of the office swells, distant at first like an echo. My chest tightens, a dark curtain drawing across my vision. There's a sting behind my eyes, bright and sharp, as if a light bulb has exploded somewhere inside me. Instinctively, I reach out. The conference table under my fingertips is cold, the polished surface oddly smooth against the sweat on my palms. Someone is calling my name, but it sounds muffled, as if I'm underwater. The sound of my own breathing thunders in my ears. Something warm spreads across my chest. My fingers press against a bright patch that blooms crimson on my shirt. It's just a moment. A voice says, low and steady, "Hang on." There's panic in it, yet also an attempt at calm. I try to focus, to make sense of faces around me. Familiar eyes, colleagues I've known for years, blur at the edges. Their faces hover over mine with fear. It feels like falling through endless corridors of memory. I see pieces of the journey. The first hesitant steps, the victories built on compromises, the late nights when I convinced myself I was in control. In this half-light of consciousness, a strange clarity comes. All that matters is now, this pulse of reality. The weight of the past washes away, and all the whispers of doubt and certainty fade. My hand drops from the table. I am lying back in the chair, the ceiling above drifting slowly into focus, a grid of fluorescent light becoming the whole world for a moment. The air smells of antiseptic and coffee. A warm hand on my shoulder ground me. I try to offer a word of reassurance, but only silence comes out. The heart monitors in the corner start to beat rapidly. The faces around me fall back, forming a ring. It's quiet after the beeps, quieter than I expected. I take a breath. The pain is vivid now, weaving through me with every heartbeat. I know. I whisper, not sure if I'm answering someone or speaking to myself. I know. A nurse's voice pleads, "Stay with us, please." I see her fear from the corner of my eye. Others scramble behind her, all desperate, all so focused on saving this life. My life. My hand twitches, reaching out, but I don't grasp it fully. The hand falls limp. I realize I'm no longer afraid. In fact, something that feels like relief comes. Strange peace in the acceptance of not knowing. Everything slows. The fluorescent lights above me seem to pulse gently. The city below is distant, a grid of soft, blinking lights in the night. I think of everything again, all at once. The confidence, the doubt, the quiet hum of endless nights like this one. They all lead to now, to this beating in my chest that grows fainter. Outside, the world goes on. I hear the faint murmur of traffic, like a lullaby. A nurse leans close and asks softly, "Can you hear me?" I manage a nod, and I see in her eyes the question that doesn't need asking. My lips move almost of their own accord. "I'm sorry." She shakes her head, tears brimming. "You're doing great. Keep breathing." I give a small, wan smile. I say, I was doing my best. As the words leave me, I feel the last of the strength in them sapping away. My eyes drift upward, focusing on a single flicker of light in the ceiling tile. In this final quiet, I understand something fundamental. It never was about stopping or saving the machine. It was about all the moments in between, the push to keep going, the struggle against uncertainty, the moments of understanding that never came soon enough. For the first time, I am entirely present in this moment, not directing, not controlling, just breathing. The monitor flatlines with a steady tone. In that tone, the hum fades to silence, and I let go,